Welcome back to Digital Trends Live. I'm Greg Nibbler, and again, thank you for joining us wherever you are. We appreciate it. It is Friday, and it's now time for Tech Briefs, where we recap some of the biggest stories in technology from the past week in as best as we can in 10 minutes, and that is what we're going to do right now. Joining me this week, we've got Maya Schwader back. Maya, hello. Good to see you.
Hi. Thanks so much for having me.
So much to get through, so let's kick it right off here and talk about Xbox. So the console wars that are coming up, starting to heat up, and Xbox has really been making a lot more announcements than Sony has made. So right now we know the Series X, we got the price, we got the Series S. So just a quick recap, Series X is kind of the main one. It's going to be 4K gaming at 60 frames per second, maybe up to 120 frames per second, $499 at launch. Xbox Series S is going to be that slimmed down version, like an all digital version. It's pretty similar, just a little bit slower, but it's going to be $299, and both of those are going to be out on November 10th. But something interesting is this idea of essentially renting to own that they've launched, where you get the Xbox All Access Pass, and I think an EA Game Pass as well, but it's going to be either $35 a month or $25 a month, and then you sign a 2-year contract. How do you feel about this announcement and where Xbox is at right now?
Yeah, it's kind of a gauntlet to Sony, isn't it? The price is really what's interesting, because you have these two, complementary consoles, the cheaper of which really isn't that much worse in quality than the more expensive one. It almost as if Microsoft is sort of taking a bet on what the future of gaming consoles is going to look like. People are still going to want high quality, but when you're releasing a new expensive product in the middle of a pandemic, when not a lot of people have a lot of money, it sort of behooves you to try to drop the price point, but still provide some quality. This is going to do some numbers, I am betting. People are going to be very happy that they are getting something that is so high quality for not such a high price point as gaming consoles go. And then, we're going to have to see how this console war plays out when Sony decides to respond.
Yeah, I think definitely they need to say something. I mean, they've shown at least what the console is going to look like, but they haven't given us the price, the release date, and this pricing system, like you said, not everybody has a lot of money right now to spend on a giant console. So that rental system, I mean, not rental, but that's not what they're calling it, but, $25 a month does seem a little bit more palatable, though over the course, you're paying a lot more. But so that's what we've got there for Xbox. So a lot going on that, and everybody can check that out at digitaltrends.com. Going to the next topic, we've got this, talking about facial recognition software. So we've seen a lot of cities, a few cities anyway, San Francisco, Oakland, Boston, I believe at least, have banned the use of facial recognition software for governmental use cases because of all the issues with it. But now Portland, Oregon, they have gone ahead and banned it for not only that use, but also for private use. So businesses, banks, Airbnbs, nobody's going to be able to use it. And they've actually instituted a fine that would go along with it, and even lawsuits could be filed. It's a huge move, I feel like, with this, with facial recognition technology. Do you see this as maybe being the start of something for other cities?
I think it definitely sets a new legal precedent. Like you've said, we've seen some cities taking some steps against government use. This is the first time we're seeing this in terms of private use. The interesting thing is, though, this is kind of the perfect time for facial recognition to be proliferating. This seems to be somewhat of a reaction to that. I had a report that I did a couple of weeks ago about how there's a whole string of restaurants in Southern California that are starting to institute pay by face. They have these new kiosks where you just look at the kiosk and you've paid for your meal. And according to the restaurant owners I talked to, customers are absolutely loving it. I think what we're going to see develop kind of slowly is these two parallel societies, where there are some states where facial recognition is everywhere and it's super convenient, but possibly also super invasive. And then you're going to have these other states where you still have to carry your wallet. You might still be afraid of getting mugged, but you're not being followed everywhere with people tracking where your face is. And then it kind of just comes down to, well, which would you rather?
Yeah, that's an interesting dichotomy to have that, that kind of tech just being so just completely sparsely banned in one state and used for everything in another state. You got to wonder about the data too on that. Like, where's the data going to be stored on that? Is somebody's how they're going to handle all of that? That's a interesting use case for it.
That's a big question. I did ask that question when I had this report a couple of weeks ago, and this company that provides these kiosks claimed, "Oh, we don't see much. All the personal information is hashed out. We have your name, your address, your phone number, and your face." And I said, That's still a lot of information. People can still do a lot
So
with that. So
that's a
people
lot.
just need to be aware, right?
Yeah, I mean that's. I feel like you could do quite a bit with that much information right there. But yeah, so that's fascinating. So I'm assuming, yeah, check out Maya's report on that. I'll definitely be reading that afterward. And speaking of that, going to our third topic here, talking about Section 230 back in the news. And I know there's been a lot in the past going on with this about talks about repealing, and Trump got really mad about it, especially when Twitter started. Flagging his posts, but where are we at right now on Section 230?
Right. So for those who might not know, Section 230 is a 1990s law that basically allows social media platforms to function the way they function. It means that they're not liable for any hate speech or any copyrighted material that a user might post on it. We have seen a lot of effort recently from both parties and both presidential candidates, I should say, not just Trump. Biden has talked about this as well, trying to repeal or reinforce or redo the law somehow. And this week, a GOP group, I think in the Senate, introduced a bill that would actually greatly limit the protections that 230 currently provides to social media platforms. Now, in response to this, we've also seen a report come out from NYU saying, hey, listen, we don't need to repeal Section 230. That would create a new type of internet that we don't know what that looks like, and that could be potentially very bad. But what we do possibly need to do is create a new digital regulatory agency. This is all under the umbrella of the FCC. They can't do this all, as has been shown by how the internet is now. And platforms need to show that they are putting in a good faith effort to actually moderate the content on their platforms in order to get the protections from Section 230. So there's a lot that could potentially play out here. We don't know what's going to happen with this bill. Like we said, both parties have tried to attack this problem from very different angles previously. And this is definitely going to continue to be an issue way past the election in November.
Yeah, I mean, I do like that idea of having a specific agency that's just in charge of this, as we've seen time and time again for a lot of
Certainly.
the people in Congress or in the Senate. They do have very little understanding of how technology works, and I think you need somebody who actually grasps that. Andrew Yang, I don't know, whoever you want to put in there, but somebody who can actually try to get some measurements on this. But it's fascinating. So obviously, some more stuff going forward with this. We'll see if anything happens before the election, but I would guess probably right afterward. But definitely interesting. And Maya, I want to say thank you very much for joining us for another edition of Tech Briefs. Always fantastic reporting, always interesting takes that you've got, and everybody can check it all out too at digitaltrends.com. Maya, thanks for being here.
Thanks so much. Thanks for having me.